The certified letter slapped my mailbox like a velvet-gloved slap. Karen Voss, Queen of Evergreen Trails HOA, had just ordered my grandfather's 1952 workshop bulldozed in 48 hours, or I'd start bleeding $100 a day, while she smiled in that real estate agent way that says, "I'm doing this for the community," and really means, "I'm doing this for my next listing bonus." My name's Cole Harlan. 6 months earlier I'd inherited 2.5 acres of pure Colorado foothill heaven outside Denver. Main house, that hand-hewn log workshop Buck Harlan built when he came home from Korea, and the little creek where he taught me to skip stones. The place still smelled like pine resin and motor oil, like the man himself. Evergreen Trails used to be open ranch land. Then the McMansions marched in wearing the same beige stucco uniform, and the HOA formed to preserve property values. Translation: keep out anything that isn't Instagram perfect. Karen Voss, 53, fresh blonde every 3 weeks, white Range Rover with the blessed plate, had run the board for 4 years like it was her personal fiefdom. She timed garage doors, measured grass blades, and once fined a widow for hanging Christmas lights 2 days late. Her husband Todd just nodded and wrote checks. She showed up on a Tuesday in pressed khakis and heels that clicked like countdown timers. "Routine inspection," she announced, phone already filming. She circled the workshop like it had personally offended her. "This relic violates our architectural harmony guidelines. Eyesore. Safety hazard. Has to go." I tried reason. "It's 72 years old, predates the HOA by decades. My grandpa built it log by log." Karen's smile never reached her eyes. "Sweetie, that was a different era. We have standards now." She slapped the 30-day notice into my hand and strutted off, leaving a cloud of overpriced perfume and pure entitlement. That night I sat in Buck's old leather chair, his worn gloves still on the workbench, and felt the first hot coil of anger. She wasn't just coming for wood and nails. She was coming for every memory that didn't match her beige fantasy. 2 weeks later she shortened my deadline to 14 days, claiming an emergency structural threat. Her golf buddy inspector, boots so clean they squeaked, declared the cabin condemned after 10 minutes. Daily fines of $100. Lien threat on my whole property. Karen posted cropped photos in the neighborhood Facebook group, protecting our equity neighbors. Her supporters, new transplants with stock portfolios, hit like, share, and virtue signal. The old-timers stayed quiet. For now. I could have folded. Plenty do. But Buck Harlan didn't raise quitters. First move, I hired structural engineer Rita Morales, steel-toed boots caked in real dirt. Her report was a masterpiece. Not only was the workshop sound, it exceeded modern codes by a mile. Buck had poured footings like he expected Armageddon. Meanwhile I dug up the original 1952 building permits and fast-tracked historic designation with the County Preservation Society. Karen's reply? Classic. She couldn't fight facts, so she rewrote the rules. Aesthetic noncompliance, she declared, creating a brand new design review committee, made up of herself and 2 cronies who'd rubber-stamped every McMansion except mine. She slashed my deadline to 7 days. That's when the neighborhood started waking up. Retired teacher Mrs. Alvarez pulled 30 years of meeting minutes, showing Karen's selective enforcement. Single moms, Latino families, retirees on fixed incomes always got hammered, while her friends' violations mysteriously vanished. Miguel at the hardware store quietly shared stories of her harassment. Even Todd looked exhausted every time he filled up at the gas station. I filed the formal grievance she'd conveniently forgotten to mention in the bylaws. Contacted the local paper. Started a Save Buck's Workshop page that exploded with stories from 3 neighboring HOAs. Hashtag Buck Built This trended. Karen countered with daily drive-bys, phone recording, social media fearmongering about plummeting values. Then came the real counterpunch, the one that would end her. I spent my last savings on licensed surveyor Janet Torres. GPS gear that could map a gnat's eyebrow. What Janet found turned Karen's power trip into comedy gold. My property line didn't stop where everyone thought. It ran 53 feet further, right through Karen's brand new $150,000 backyard oasis, her $80,000 expanded driveway, and best part, the HOA's $22,000 community enhancement gazebo she'd personally funded and bragged about in every listing. Every improvement she'd used to sell houses and boost her commissions sat squarely on my land. The 1970s subdivision survey everyone had used for decades? Wrong. Buck's original 1952 deed? Bulletproof. Karen's emergency board meeting, was supposed to be her victory lap. She packed the room with supporters, gavel ready, projector cued with horror photos of my dangerous relic. She opened with 20 minutes of patriotic-sounding garbage about standards and equity, voice cracking on the word equity. I stood up, calm as still water. Mind if I show everyone something? I plugged in my laptop. The survey map filled the screen in crisp color, property lines, GPS pins, and bright red arrows labeling Karen Voss backyard improvements, trespass, HOA gazebo, trespass, driveway extension, trespass. Gasps rippled through the crowd like a shockwave. Karen's face went the color of old drywall. That's impossible. Those lines are fake. Actually, I said, voice low, they're older than your entire real estate career. And according to Colorado statute, that makes every improvement on my land subject to removal at your expense, or back rent at fair market value. 15 years. Roughly $280,000. Plus potential title insurance nightmares for every house you've sold using the wrong survey. The room lost its collective mind. Mrs. Alvarez stood. I moved to remove Karen Voss as president immediately. Seconded, Miguel called. The vote wasn't even close, 38-9. Even two of her loyalists folded when they realized their own back patios might be next. Karen screamed, "You can't do this. I am the standards." The sheriff's deputy, who'd been called for crowd control, just sighed. "Ma'am, you're disrupting a legal meeting." That night her Range Rover peeled out of the neighborhood like it was on fire. 3 days later she resigned in a tear-stained email blaming mob mentality. Todd filed for divorce the same week. By month's end she'd sold the house at a loss, moved to Arizona, and lost her real estate license over ethics complaints the state board suddenly found very interesting. We rewrote the HOA bylaws with term limits, conflict of interest rules, and mandatory mediation before any fine. Buck's workshop became the Ridgeview Heritage Tool Library, free for any neighbor. The reclaimed land turned into a community garden where kids plant tomatoes instead of learning to fear rulers. Monthly potlucks replaced emergency meetings. The old-timers and newcomers finally talked to each other instead of through Facebook wars. 6 months later, my 9-year-old niece was showing her class around the workshop on a field trip. She ran her small hand along the logs Buck cut himself and asked, "Uncle Cole, why did that lady hate Grandpa's shed so much?" I smiled, because it reminded her some things can't be controlled, no matter how many rules you write. So tell me, true or false, the real power abuser was the guy quietly protecting his family's legacy, or the HOA president who built her entire empire on land that never belonged to her? Drop your answer below. Who really got the karma they deserved?